All right, ladies and gentlemen, our first guest, Mr. Verlin Youd. How are you, sir? Good to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here. Isn't it awesome to have customers that love you?
Sure is.
Right?
It sure is.
We're so lucky.
So, Verlin, is it true that Theatro came from just a spelling error when you're typing theater, or where did Theatro come from?
Well, the founders thought of retail as a stage. They thought of retail as a play. You have a set, you have a script, right? You have a venue for people to sit in and be at. The most important thing is the actors. They're the ones that bring it to life. So we took Theatro, a little bit of a word play, and said we're going to use it to orchestrate those actors to provide incredible customer experience. And that's what we do.
That's awesome. And so you are the SVP of Partners. Tell us about what inspired you to come join Theatro?
That's a great question. So for any of you that have worked in retail for a while, you know the National Retail Federation show, this huge thing in January in New York that most people love and hate at the same time. I've been going for 20 years, and I always take time out to look around who has new innovation, who has new solutions. And I was wandering the floor, and I saw this little tiny table sitting on the corner of someone else's booth. And frankly, the two guys standing there looked bored and sad. And so I walked up to them to find out who they were. Well, it turned out to be Chris Todd and Ravi Shankar Kumar, who are our CEO and CTO. And I immediately was impressed with them personally as people, and the solution was phenomenal, so much that I took them back to my customers at the company I was with at the time, introduced them to several of my customers, and we started the relationship from there.
Oh, that is awesome. Wow, that's a great story. I'm sure your former employer just loved that.
I'm sure they did.
No, so we were talking before the show, and you told me you had some funny experiences with your first international customer. Tell us about some of the challenges you ran into.
We now do business across North America, so in Canada as well as the U.S., and we've done business with a lot of different companies. One of our largest customers is headquartered in Canada, and we installed their solution. And at one point we were doing a project with them where we needed to bring thousands of our devices back into the country. So these little devices are what run Theatro. This is a mobile computer that's voice driven, and it's an IoT device. And we needed to bring about 1,000 of them back. And so everyone else's schedule was busy at the time. Mine was not. They said, Verlin, you get to go up and pick up the suitcase full of these things and bring it back. Well, little did I know that they were all turned on in the suitcase. And I checked in for the flight, checked in my luggage, and I'm sitting at the gate to board, and that the worst announcement you can hear came over the PA. Would Verlin Youd please come to customs?
Oh, no.
And so I went into customs, and I walked in, and the customs agent had the suitcase open, and there were 1,000 of these loose in the suitcase, turned on, and he held his hand above it. He said, "These sure do get hot." He said, "What are these?" And I explained it, and he said, "There's no way you're getting on the airplane with these devices." And I said, "Well, I have to get them back." He said, "Well, that's your problem." He zipped up the case, handed it to me, flight denied. Oof. So I quickly figured out where the nearest shipping spot was, caught a taxi to the shipping location, walked into FedEx, and said, "Do you have a box big enough to put all of these devices in?" And she said, "Well, sure." I said, "Could I have some tape? Could I have a pen? Could I, Yeah. When you're a startup, you do whatever you can to get it done." So I literally pick up the suitcase and I pour these devices in like water. And it's in, and they're still flashing because they flash an LED light depending on the state. And I hand her the box, and she lifts it. She goes, "That's a little heavy." I said, "I'll pay for it." She said, "It's a little warm." I said, "Yeah, it is." And she said, "What are those?" And thinking quick, I just said, "Garage door openers."
Nice.
And she said, "That's great." And off they were shipped.
No way. And they got there okay?
They got to Theatro perfectly.
It's funny. Yep. It's amazing how small those things are that
you
can run on. When I saw you fiddling with it earlier before the show, I honestly thought it was a vape pen. I thought you were like doing that. That is awesome. So
no, Mom, I was not vaping.
Wow, this is awesome. So, Theatro, what's the website?
Theatro.com.
Perfect. I know you are on LinkedIn. That's the best way to get a hold of you.
You can see me on LinkedIn. You can see me on Facebook. Smoke signals, whatever way you want to communicate, I communicate. Theatro, look for it at a retailer near you. Certainly a Walgreens, 9,000 of those stores, you'll find one.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you, Verlin. Great having you on. And we got our next guest coming up.
Thank you very much.
Matthew's here.
See you in a bit.
Thank you.